Hey everyone, for all those who may not know me, my name is Ro. I'm a staffer here at Fort Wayne Sport and Social, and I'm going to be going over some of the rules that we have for kickball. Uh, some of these rules are pretty unique to our league, so bear with me, and if they're a little hard to imagine, uh, feel free to ask them while you're playing or send me an email, and I can try to explain it a little more clearly. But our first rule, and this rule not only encompasses kickball, but any other league that we have, and that rule is don't be a douchebag. It's pretty self-explanatory. Just don't be a douchebag. Um, most sports require some part of competitiveness, and that's great. We don't discourage competitiveness, but we want people to keep it to a certain degree. Um, Sometimes people can lose their cool while trying to play and trying to win. Just remember, this is kickball. We're here to have fun. Just don't take it too seriously, hopefully, and just keep your head. And if things get a little too riled up, hopefully someone like myself or one of our other staffs will be there to help de-escalate things. But just keep in mind, try not to be a douchebag. Okay, innings are 7 innings or 55 minutes. We will try to give you a time encroachment warning, like around like the 45 mark, to let you know, hey, your game's about to end. So this may be your last inning, uh, but we will try and let you finish that inning that you're in as time elapses. This has caused issues in the past where we had to cut games off in mid inning because of time, but we're gonna do our best to work with you to help you finish innings so you feel some sense of closure, especially in those really close games. We don't want to let someone win on a technicality, but that may be the case. But just keep in mind when we give you a warning, hey, this is probably going to be our last inning. Um, this is 10v10, so you can have 10 people on the defensive end, but out of those 10, you have to have 4 females on the field at all times. If you're not able to field 4 females for any reason because someone's not there, you can play a person down, but so that means you would have 9 people playing defense, but 3 of those have to be girls. The minimum amount of players you can have and still play and not forfeit is 8. But again, 3 of those have to be females. You cannot substitute a male for a female, so there has to be at least 3 females playing before you to not forfeit. But uh, you have to have 4 females total to play the full complement of 10 people. Kicking. So we have issues with sometimes people like to get a little excited and run to meet the ball halfway from the pitch, and they kick it well beyond home plate. Uh, this is only a small issue, but just remember that you can take a whole step past home plate to kick it, but any farther than that, it would be considered a foul. Uh, this is just to keep the your advantage of kicking to a minimum because meeting it halfway and then bombing out the part that's no fun for the defensive player. So just remember you can take one step past home plate, but that's it. Sometimes there may be like a water obstruction or there may be like a hole or something that stops you from pitching it straight on to the home plate. You can just talk to the other team and say, hey, can you pitch it to the sides here or there, just so I don't step in this or something, and that's fine. But just remember, you can't go farther than one step past wherever home plate should be. Bunting is allowed. When you get to the fields, you're going to notice that there's going to be an arch that expands from the first baseline to the third baseline. This is our bunting line. You can bunt the ball, but the ball has to roll past this bunting line to be considered fair. Uh, Also, on the defensive end, you cannot cross this bunting line until the player touches the ball. Once the player touches the ball, you're free to cross the bunting line to grab the ball, and you could even do it before the ball comes to a rest. Uh, but if uh, if the ball doesn't come to a rest, uh, if a ball doesn't come to a rest, excuse me, while before the bunting line, it can roll past and it'll still be fair. So it's kind of a give or take if you should or not. But remember, the ball has to be rolling past the bunt line for it to be fair. Um, while running, you cannot hit someone in the head. Like if you're trying to get someone out with a thrown ball, which is completely allowed, and you're trying to hit them before they hit the base, if you hit them in the back of the head, they are automatically safe. Uh, we just don't want anyone to quote unquote accidentally hit someone in the back of the head. Although the only exception to this rule is if that person slides. If they slide and they get hit in the head, then they are out because you threw it low enough normally that they should have hit them in the legs. But since they slid and got hit in the head, that is completely their fault. So they are out. Just remember that going forward. There is no leading off or stealing in this league. Um, a lot of people are fast, and sometimes that would be a huge advantage if everyone on the team is really fast and they're stealing bases, and that's just no fun. So just remember, there's no leading off or stealing. Uh, Along with that, if a ball is overthrown while trying to get someone out, say an infielder try to throw someone out at first, and it goes out of the bounds of the field, then the you get an automatic advancement of one base. So if the ball rolls out of bounds, and that person who's running the first, they get a free base to go to second. If there was runners on like second, and that happens, and they were already halfway to third base by the time the ball was thrown out, they get to go to third base, and then they get their free base, which would be home plate. So as long as they're more than halfway, they would get a base and a half, pretty much. So you would go to third and then home, if that makes sense. This is kind of a hard rule to follow. You just kind of have to play in the spirit of the game and just be honest. This happens kind of a lot, considering some of these fields are next to a street, and that's pretty much why we have this rule. We didn't want any defensive players running crazily to stop the ball, and to get the ball back into play, and potentially getting hit by cars or people on the sidewalk, stuff like that. So just remember, if the ball is overthrown, then the runners get an automatic base. A defensive play is not considered dead until the pitcher gets the ball in the mound area. The mound area is either where you're pitching from and 2 to 3 steps around it. So if someone's trying to get someone, even if it's a pitcher, if they're not generally on top of the mound, a play is still active, which means the runners can still run. But once the pitcher receives the ball, isn't trying to get anyone out, and is on the mound, players who may not be on the base but is less than halfway to the next base, they have to go back to their base. So if Billy was just past second base and the pitcher just got the ball and is on the mound, then Billy must go back to second base. You don't get a free base just because you weren't on the base as the pitcher ended the play. That's kind of a rule it's going to take a little to get used to, especially if you haven't played in our leagues before. But just remember, as a pitcher or as a defensive player, you have to get the ball back to the pitcher to end the play. While kicking, you have a total of 4 fouls before you're considered out. We don't really have a striking out rule, because players can choose not to kick a ball whenever they want, to a certain degree. But if while kicking you hit the ball foul 4 times, then on the 4th one you're considered out. Also, while you're kicking, if you kick a ball and a player is on the base and he starts to run, and your kick ball hits your own player while he's running, that player is out. That's kind of a a different rule that not a lot of people have have played before. But in this league, if the ball hits you, you're out, even if it's by your own player. So you have to be careful out there. I believe that's all I have. There are several different, well, not different, but more rules that we have. You should have got a link to all of our kickball rules in an email not too long ago. I think it was earlier this week. It was the welcome email. If you wanted to look at all the rules, feel free to reference that. And if you have any questions, my email is attached to this video. You can send it to me, or you can ask any one of us in person. I hope this clears some things up, and I hope we all have fun when we start playing kickball, because it's so much fun. And we can't wait to see you guys, and we look forward to playing on Thursday. Thanks. Goodbye.